My administration has negotiated one historic trade deal after another, including with the United Kingdom, the European Union, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, and many, many others. Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years.
What can I say? Trump said it best.
What is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. My administration has negotiated one historic trade deal after another, including with the United Kingdom, the European Union, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, and many, many others. Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years. I ended 7 wars. And in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand, Kosovo and Serbia, the Congo and Rwanda, a vicious, violent war that was, Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan. It included all of them. No president or prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that.
You know what I find interesting about that? How many of those wars do you just don't even know about? Like, I consider myself somebody who really knows about a lot of stuff, and I didn't even know about 2 of those wars. Like, frustrating.
And I did it in just 7 months. It's never happened before. There's never been anything like that. I'm very honored to have done it. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. I thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with the mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars. With Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity demolished, I immediately brokered an end to the 12-day war, as it's called, between Israel and Iran, with both sides agreeing to fight no longer. As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities. Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody is ever, and nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out. It's not sustainable. And because they choose to be politically correct, they're doing just absolutely nothing about it. And I have to say, I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible, terrible mayor, and it's been so changed, so changed. Climate change, it's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail.
He's so funny. This is like, he's just so funny and entertaining. It's so much nicer to like him than to hate him. But everything he spoke about in his speech, and his speech was 50 minutes long, and I highly recommend you watch it, but everything he spoke about is, I think in many reasons, the reasons why we have this channel. He speaks about climate change. We're going to start from the end. Climate change, which is the lefty, ridiculous thing to make everybody feel guilty and feel like we're destroying the world, when actually that's not what's going on. He spoke about Sharia law taking over the UK and the immigration problems. He spoke about how there are countries out there recognizing a Palestine, not realizing they're rewarding Hamas instead of actually doing the right thing for the world. He spoke about the fact that we need to end evil. We need to end wars, and that no one will give him the recognition for that because no one would do that. And he spoke about how useless the UN is and how useless so many of these big bodies are. And I think all of that encompasses why we're here, why you're here listening to me, why you could have watched that video on X, but you're here watching it with me, because I think that we know and understand that there's something bigger at play, there's something evil at play, and there has to be people speaking out against it. And Trump did an awesome job, an amazing job at just tackling each part of what's happening in the world and really discussing it and really putting it out there with his classic humor. I'm right about everything. I love it. He's brilliant. But this is the reality that we're up against. An entity as big as the UN, which should be doing good, doing nothing. And we're seeing this across legacy organizations everywhere. Groups that should be doing a huge amount, that have tons of funding and are doing nothing with that funding. We're seeing such silence with evil mayors and Sharia law taking over the UK. And we're seeing our leaders being manipulated into caring about things that are just a hoax and they're not real. And we're seeing rewards to terror. And we're seeing people really pull back. I mean, Marco Rubio said this really, really interesting thing in an interview yesterday, because obviously we're all at the moment talking nonstop about the UN recognizing a Palestinian state.
Okay, we have Australia and Canada recognizing the Palestinian state. What does that say about our influence?
Well, these countries are doing it, frankly, because of domestic political pressure in their own countries. You know, because of migration policies, their countries have been flooded with foreigners who have become politically active and are insisting that their governments do these sorts of things. And so that's what they're responding to. But look, it's irrelevant. It's going to get a little bit of attention, but there is no Palestinian state. You can put all the, it's kind of an emblematic of what the president says about the UN. You can put out all the paper in the world you want. The only way there's ever going to be a permanent solution to this challenge between Palestinians and Israelis is a negotiated settlement, one in which the Palestinians are going to have a territory and they're going to govern it, but it cannot be one that's going to be used as a launch pad for attacks against Israel. And that's something that has to be negotiated with Israel. It isn't going to exist without Israel.
There you go. He says it. He says it exactly as it is. The truth, simple and simple. The only reason these countries are recognizing a Palestinian state is because they're under personal internal pressure, which is why it is so important to keep on calling out everything that's going on in the UK. And it's just getting more and more and more atrocious by the minute, may I just say. Some of the news that I read over this weekend. I took 2 days off and I'm like nauseous. But thank you to President Trump once again for being a voice of reason and for actually saying the things that need to be said, that the UN is useless and that Europe is being taken over and that a Palestinian state is just setting us back many, many years. And it is time for us to fight to fight the evil and to actually recognize that if we want a good future, Hamas needs to be dismantled, the hostages need to be brought back home, and we need to call out the lefty and Islamic madness for what it is. Thank you for your attention to this matter.